Winnipeg is back in the big leagues and over the moon.
Welcome to the Landing Strip with Nick Lynham and Mikey Garcia, presented by From Financial.
Welcome back to the Landing Strip, brought to you by From Financial. From Dallas Fort Worth, after the Winnipeg Jets lose the series in 6 games in overtime. After quite the emotional day down here. This show could go a million different ways today, so here's what I'm thinking here. Season's over. We're going to reflect on this game. We're going to reflect on the season. After locker room cleanup, we'll come and do a real autopsy on everything and move into the off season. Mikey, how you doing, buddy?
Not great, man. That's I'm a little broken after that one. Tonight ended up being about a lot more than just hockey. It ended up being a bigger story, and to have it end in a heartbreaking way like that, it's going to take some time for me to find the right way to express myself over it. So, not great. I'm crushed about the results. I'm crushed on the personal side of things for, obviously the big story coming in. And then I'm also I'm just as upset about losing the chance to get to do this every game with you guys. This has become easily the best Jets season I've been a part of. And it's all around just a heartbreaking evening.
Yeah, my emotions are kind of everywhere. Let's start with that. Let's start with it because I see Gordy Angus says Schaefer was phenomenal today, given the circumstances. And honestly, what a shitty way for this to end with him in the box, like given everything going on. And he had
Yep.
played such a strong game. That's just not the way you want to see that one end for him, given the personal circumstances.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, I've I don't know how to talk about this. Obviously, we all know at this point, Mark Scheifele's dad passed away last night. Shea found out this morning he wanted to be out there with the boys, which is just admirable.
Yeah.
Honestly, if he didn't play, totally would have understood.
Oh,
Totally would have got
absolutely.
it.
Yep.
And admittingly, led to a pretty emotional day for me down here. I thought I was in a better space with like losing my dad last summer, and I come out and do the solo trip. And as soon as I found out that news, man, it just I was back to a spot I didn't think I was gonna ever go back to. And if I'm feeling that, the team is feeling a lot stronger about things. They actually have connections there. It's fresh. It's not something like that you're grieving over time like I'm doing. So I'm just like I'm using my experience to kind of amplify how the team's probably feeling going into there. Um, get the news at 4:30 he's gonna play, and he puts up a fucking game, and for him to score that first goal,
Incredible.
that's where sports are beautiful.
Yep.
That's where sports are beautiful.
You couldn't have
Was
written
really
it up
proud to
better.
see that, and yeah, just all the best to Mark Scheifele and his family. Like this is a tough topic for me because I was feeling it myself today.
Absolutely. That's the thing, right? Everybody grieves differently and in their own time, and it doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes ago, 5 months ago, 5 years ago. Those emotions don't really change. You learn to live with them. You learn to kind of take up and keep going, but that doesn't make the loss any less difficult. So, for anybody who's lost a loved one, lost a parent, I'm sure we've all seen ourselves in Mark Scheifele tonight in that kind of way, and for him to go out on the biggest stage, prime time, being watched across the the country and in the states and everything else, it just to go out there, get that first goal. It's a storybook start. It's everything that you could have hoped for the guy to help maybe deal with that process a little bit, and it breaks my heart that we didn't get to see him celebrate a W after it.
And on this topic, I do want to give a shout out to the Dallas Stars fan base. And I know a couple of them are in here with Daily Dallas Hockey
Hell yeah.
and TWR, who says Stars fan here, incredible series, just what the playoffs should be. Great fans, great product on the ice. Feel for 55. We'll see y'all again. And that's the thing. Like I wanna give a shout out to the Stars fan base because as soon as that came out today, we see a Reddit feed from Dallas Stars Reddit start this fundraising drive for Mark Scheifele and his family.
Yep.
You see all of the kind words on social media. You see I was in the stands today. I was in the building, and everyone wanted to talk to me about that and like kind of spread their concerns. And I'll say this about being here today. The old Southern hospitality is pretty true. There's only one idiot I wanted to punch out on the way out. But my experience down here, the Dallas Stars fan base, A grades, top of the line, just absolutely, we're going out of their way to like make me feel comfortable. You get those jokes and those quips, right? Which is just part of being fans.
Hell yeah.
But the camaraderie and like everything I experienced here. Dallas Stars fans are real ones, man. Between the Shifley situation and just my personal experience being down here, so I just want to give a shout out with knowing some of them are in this audience to kind of spread the word and just thanks for the compassion and the experience I just had. So and best of luck the rest of the way. Big series coming on next week for you guys with the Edmonton Oilers. I actually preseason I picked Dallas to win the cup. And then with their end of the season, I kind of wavered on it. But that Dallas team might just do it.
Yeah. That's the thing with sports, right? I think sometimes we get lost a little bit in the toxic side of the fandom, and we can forget that without an opponent, you don't have a game to play, right? Like you need each other to make this fun, to make this interesting. You need that. They're part of your community. Even if you're rivals, even if you're competing clubs, you're competing teams, you need each other to make this interesting, to make this fun. So it's great to hear that you were treated pretty well down there. Daily Dallas Hockey, who we just gave a shout out to, comes in with only one idiot. That's hella low. So, you had a
Only
great
one.
time, and
I would have tuned them too.
it's awesome. Love to see that. And yeah, shout out to the Dallas Stars fans who have been coming in here and making this a really fun time. We had the St. Louis fans in the first round coming to hang out with us as well. That's what it's all about. It's about building community, doing this all together, getting to, rib each other. And yeah, this is going to be a great series with Dallas and Edmonton going forward.
Jay Jerry on this Shifley topic. We're gonna try and move away from the Shifley topic after here. I want to kind of talk about the game a little bit, but I mean this was the big story on our end. Jay Jerry says, "Listen, man, I've lost my father suddenly 11 years ago. It truly never goes away. Moments like this always give me the chills and bring me back to that day. Mark has been a soldier showing up and our best player. It kills me. He was the one in the box at the ending."
Yeah.
And with Jerry saying that, like that's exactly how I felt today. I had gone downtown and I was hanging out around the rink and I was kind of just trying to stir it up on social media and bring the hype and build the hype and really embrace this trip. And then I saw the news and I found myself walking aimlessly through downtown Dallas. Like I just wanted to be home.
Yeah.
I went back to that day with my dad last summer. So I can't give Mark Scheifele any more credit. Like what he did today was the stuff of legends. To have that kind of performance fresh off of that news. Shout out Scheif, and it's just really unfortunate he's the one in the box. Again, he's going to be thinking about that tonight on top of everything he's got going on. Because if I was feeling the way I'm feeling, and Jerry's talking about how he's still feeling that way, no one had it worse than Mark Scheifele today, and he put his best foot forward.
On the broadcast on the panel, I can't remember who it was, but one of them for the overtime was called Mark Scheifele coming out of the box as the overtime winner, and I was hoping for that one. I was hoping he was going to get that opportunity that you see it all the time in games, and it just would have been the wrapping on this evening for him. It's heartbreaking that he was the one in the box. No, helpless to do anything about that penalty kill. So yeah, it was tough.
It was tough indeed. let's move into the actual physical game a little bit here, and we'll kind of go through. We'll talk about today's game. We'll leave with our thoughts. Then we'll move into some like episodes over the next couple of weeks with looking like what's the off season gonna look like? What did we hear at the locker room clean out?
Yep.
And as things happen this summer, we'll jump on. Um, but Mikey, what was your big takeaway tonight?
You know, I'm glad that we got to see Connor Hellebuck on his A game tonight. I'm glad that we got to see Mark Scheifele get that goal early on. The thing that obviously has been, was a topic heavily online, heavily on social media, heavily in our chat right now, is a goddamn wide open net late in the game for a player who will remain nameless. And it just, you never want to write a game or a season down to a single moment, because there are thousands of moments over the course of a season, hundreds of moments over the course of a game where anything can, slightly bounce in the opposite direction and everything changes at that moment. But when you see one so wide, so open, so obvious in the context of a tied game late, and you just absolutely whiff on that, it's hard not to stare at that and go, that was it. That was the game. That was the season. That was everything on your stick. The biggest moment of your career is right there. And just you biff. You biff. I don't know if you're looking, you can make up excuses. Oh, he's looking for a bank off of the way Scheifele scored in the other game. He was trying to, whatever it was, he biffed it. It's a wide open net. You could have had any junior league player kind of take that shot in that spot, and they're probably scoring. It's so fucking heartbreaking for the group for that to be the thing that stands out. And unfortunately for me, that's the thing that stands out. It's a guy that's been an absolute obvious hole offensively for so long. It's something that I've harped about all fucking year, and it's great to see everybody else has noticed it as well now. We can all kind of point and go, every game, god damn it, again. But it just, I don't take any joy in it, like it sucks that again, not being able to produce any offense in that, on that line, it killed them, and it was so glaring this time around that, again, I never want to point to one player or one moment, but how do you not in this instance? Talk me off a ledge, please, because that's where I'm at with it.
You want me to talk you off a
No,
ledge?
the chat. I need the chat to talk me off the ledge.
I will name him. I will name him right now because I just spent money to fly down and be at Game 6. And I watched Mason Appleton be used as the fifth most used forward on the Winnipeg Jets. Like, are you fucking kidding me? This is a do or die game. And it's poetic. It's honestly poetic because this was Scotty Bonus showing up when it mattered the most.
Yep.
This was Scotty Bonus going to the Rick Bonus formula, just like the old guy, where anybody else, there is guys in my real world life that I play beer league with that I would be confident finish that puck. And guess what? Mason Appleton, even if Andre doesn't save that, that's missing the goddamn net.
Right?
It's
nowhere
fucking
near.
Pathetic that he's the fifth most used forward. And you wonder why the Nick Ehlers conversation is going to go out the door, because we're playing a guy who should be a fourth line winger on any team in the league as a top 5 player on this team, who can't produce any offense, who whines at the refs every chance he freaking gets. He is the most entitled, useless forward that's played this much minutes I've ever seen. And Scott Arniel and Kevin Cheveldayoff, when they bring him back, should be absolutely eviscerated, because you could expect it. He's going to sign a 4 times 4.25 in Winnipeg, and everyone's going to pretend like, oh, chemistry. Mainstream's going to be like, oh, you got to keep this guy around. Look how much minutes he played in the playoffs, without realizing it's part of the goddamn problem.
Yep.
Someone had mentioned about the idea that the Jets have the quote-unquote best third line in the league, and it's just not true. But the fact that the Winnipeg Jets continually go to Nino, Lowry, Apples as the second line shutdown line when they're not good enough to do that, and go back to this offensive heavy first line, which has their problems at offense, this is what happens.
Yep.
It's a 1 goal game that you lose in overtime. But guess what? Despite it coming down to that shot, the Dallas Stars were the better team tonight. Let's be honest about that. We see Connor Hellebuyck have probably his best game on the road in the playoffs. We see the Jets try and chip away, but it is absolutely bullshit. Save me, like on Twitter, I'm seeing people pissed at me because I started tweeting these jokes about Mason Appleton. Like, if I get shot down here in Dallas today, make sure you hire Mason Appleton to let down my casket so he can let me down one last time. Because at the end of the day,
Honestly,
part of the big reason the Winnipeg Jets are out in 6
yep.
is because of this misusage.
Yep.
Mason Appleton in a 1-1 hockey game, we need 1 goal to win, is playing multiple more minutes than Cole Perfetti and Nik Ehlers.
Yep.
And he couldn't hit the side of a barn. We could take him out to the fields out here in Texas and give him 5 pucks, and he would not hit the side of the barn just once. He wouldn't.
No.
He'd miss wide right.
Yep.
He'd shoot it way over.
Yep.
He'd miss wide left.
Yep.
He might hit one because he fans on it and rolls and it hits there. It's a joke. If he's back next year, for one, the GM, well, he's going to be here for life, but he should be eviscerated. And the coaching staff's going to play him as a top 6. You cannot bring this guy back because you're the only team that seems to think this guy's a top 6 forward in the NHL. And it's a big reason you're going home without scoring enough goals in this playoffs.
100%.
It's one of the biggest.
And when people say we have the
Trevor
best,
says it when he's back, Nick, when he's back. And that's what's going to happen.
Yep.
We can all predict it.
Yeah. The writing's on the wall for it. They're going to want to run it back. They're going to want to bring him back, which is painful. It's absolutely painful. There's no excuse whatsoever to be playing a guy who at best should be cycling in on your 4th line every little while to give somebody, maybe a break, to be having him played as a top 6 forward. When people say that we have the best 3rd line, that's because hopefully they're talking about Perfetti and Ehlers, because that's who gets the 3rd line minutes. It's unacceptable that he should be playing above those guys, especially late in games, especially in offensive you're in offensive positions where you're looking to get a goal, where you're chasing. It makes no sense from a strategy standpoint, from a hockey standpoint. There's no reason to do it. It's frustrating. It's really frustrating that it comes down again.
He's Adam Lowry's best friend?
Right? That's the thing. It's relationships over results. It's been that way kind of from the get-go. But, hey, they played all year together, so that's a good thing, I guess. I don't know. Like, it's frustrating. I don't know what to do with it at this point, honestly.
And it's the one thing that they're going to go back to next year.
This alone should be excluding Scott Arniel from the Jack Adams vote, honestly, at this point, when you just look at the usage, and not the Appleton thing alone, just the usage in general. I don't understand why we've valued so heavily the fact that he's kept the groups together more than the results that they have when they're not together. It's night and day the difference when you actually try to work this lineup in a creative way, as opposed to the kind of default, but that's the one we stuck with.
Where did I want to go here? There was a comment I was trying to find. Sorry, I'm a little off right now.
No, that's
Jetcentric says lots of feel-good stories and love for many and support all around, but I'm out on Chevy and Arniel so hard. And I think this is where you come to a show like this today. And I think if you're a fan of this team, you can and probably should be really proud of the effort you saw the Winnipeg Jets players put up in this series, if that's something you're looking for. I think the Winnipeg Jets were right there with Dallas most of this series.
Yeah.
But you look at the decisions above their heads, and that's where it all falls. And we'll get into this in much more depth after the exit interviews.
Yep.
But this roster was absolutely let down by both their coaching staff and their head coach. And the worst part is, given past history, both of them are going to look at this as a big success and change nothing going into next year.
Correct.
And that's a problem.
Yep. They're
But
going to
you
point
got
to
to
the
be proud
President's
of the
Trophy.
effort you saw too, and I think it's important to distinguish those 2 points.
100%.
You could be frustrated with it being out. I'm pissed off about the coaching and the GM and whiffing in the biggest year possible with the oldest core, and things are going to likely go backwards moving forward unless you get really aggressive in a way we haven't seen the Winnipeg Jets get. I'm frustrated with that side of the organization, but I'm proud of the players and what they put up in this series.
100%.
And that's where I'm so conflicted right now, if I'm being honest.
100% agree. I think the big story of the season, at least for me, something we've come back to a lot, is that 2 things can be true at the same time, right? We've seen it all year long, and this is another instance of that. The players put everything on the fucking line, especially tonight. I don't have it in me to say that anybody was lazy, that anybody took the night off, that anybody looked like they didn't give a shit. Even the Mason Appleton thing, I don't blame him personally. He shouldn't be in that position. He shouldn't be given those minutes. He should not be playing at those times with those players. That's again a decision made above him. I don't even have, like, as much as I've been shitting on Appleton from the get-go, right? From pretty much the beginning of the year all the way through. I've seen this. But I don't hate him personally. You know what I mean? It's the thing about it is he shouldn't be in that spot. He's Logan Appleton. I said it a couple episodes ago. He's being put in a position he shouldn't be in, and I kind of feel bad for him because he's not good enough to be there, and the coaching staff keeps putting him there in a really awkward spot. So yeah, I'm proud as fuck of the players and how well they performed and everything they laid on the line. And it's the fault, I think, truly falls at the feet of the coaching staff. No matter what Bob Irving says, coaching matters. The coaches made the wrong decisions. Chevy didn't give them the help that they deserved. They went out and did so well up to the deadline, banked those points, fought hard every night, and were not rewarded with the help that they deserved. It's not about changing chemistry. It's not about somebody losing a spot. It's not about Mason Appleton getting less fucking minutes. It's about giving these guys the help that they deserve, the reinforcements. You're not on a battlefield. Who doesn't want reinforcements to come in and give you a hand? Choices TK over on Twitch says stars were better, but games turn on a few plays, and that is a perfect example of why you have to have guys that can actually finish, because chances are few and far between in the playoffs. They needed another finisher. They needed that extra skill. Yeah, they're deep. Yeah, they have 104 fourth liners, but that doesn't do you any good when you don't have scoring happening in the middle 6 and Mason Appleton is playing top 6 moments. It just doesn't work.
Kishore says, how DeBoer deployed Rantanen told you everything you need to know about the Jets' weaknesses. And I like that because that's been the focal point, in my opinion, when it comes to the coaching differential in this series.
100%.
And I think Arneal had a successful regular season. I don't think he handled this round very well. And I think he had his struggles against Montgomery in round 1, and they come back in that big third. And I find myself somewhere stuck in the middle because I see in Ehlers We Trust saying this is still a successful season. And I have a real hard time suggesting that as accurate. I think it was a very successful regular season. You're going to put banners up game 1 in the arena, which is pretty big.
Yep.
But at the same token, Connor Hellebuyck's 32, 33 years old. Mark Scheifele's 32 years old.
Yep.
Connor is entering his 30s and about to get way overpaid into his later end of his career.
Yep.
Nick Ehlers is likely walking.
Yep.
This was your best shot at doing the big thing. And over the last 12 months, it was the biggest failure from the Winnipeg Jets top of the organization. And that's where I have trouble coming to this idea that this is still a successful season, because so much value was left on the line. And I think that's where you got to differentiate things. I think you can be very proud of the group of guys and what they left on the line. And you could say their effort was a success. I don't think you can call this a successful season from the organization, given what they left on the line, given what they left in their back pocket, given how they handled minutes in the playoffs at the coaching level, given what the future looks like here. And guess what? Personally, unless we see Chevy have the type of summer we don't see Chevy have, I think you're looking at a New York Islanders of the last 3 or 4 years starting up in Winnipeg. And I can't call a second round loss in 6 games in a winnable series that the difference could be players that are not named Luke Shen and Brandon Tanev who don't tip the scales at all as a success. I can't just call that a success when so much value was left on the table that could have put this thing over. And that's kind of where I'm at.
So I think in a vacuum, you can say the season was a success, right? If you cut out everything else around it, if you just look at President's Trophy, setting franchise record in wins, setting franchise record in points, players setting personal bests, all those type of things, a bunch of career records and things like that. Absolutely. If you, again, carve it all out individually, stare at it just in a vacuum, you can say, yep, there was a lot of success this year. However, when you start to put those things together and you start to weave the tapestry of what this year was, what they did, and what they could have done, especially in the playoffs, in 2 series where vastly different series, and then you get through an emotional Game 7 with a miracle moment that's been plastered everywhere, to continue to build on, get into the series against Dallas, and generally be the better team most nights, and to come away with it a loss in Dallas in Game 6 is just so deflating. Would I personally call the season a success? No. I'd say they had successful moments, and they're going to, like you said, hang that banner Game 1 next year, which will be incredible. That's going to be such a moment for the city and the fans. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not a bad thing. But I don't think we're going to be, if you go ahead, 10, 15 years from now and you look back, I think it's going to be the what if. I think that's going to be the, what could have happened there. It feels a lot like the Moose's final season in 2009 where they made it all the way to the finals and then ended up losing in that final run. They won the regular season, they set records, but they just didn't get it in that very last, and it feels that kind of same letdown. And with the core, so the core is in their 30s now. Let's be kind of upfront and real with that, right? These aren't kids anymore. They're not the young guns. These aren't the Jets of 2011. These are the Jets of 2025, and a lot of these guys have been here a long time, are in their prime or coming out of their prime, are either paid big or about to be paid big. So you've got this year. And, with the, like you said, the right kind of creative moves, maybe you get something going in the next couple years, similar to what you did now. But it's going to be real hard, and you need to get creative in a way we haven't seen yet from a management group and an ownership group that isn't desperate, right? This isn't, a management group and a GM looking at, an empty building every night, or a GM that's looking at people breathing down his neck for a job. You're going to get the guys that he's
sure about the empty building thing.
At the moment, he doesn't. I don't think they think that. They just got a bunch of playoff games where they. Yeah, it's true, but they're looking at the money they've just made in the playoffs, where that's where you make your bank, right? You're not paying out salary and shit like that. This is where they've, just collected nice and big. They're going to look. What I'm getting at is they're going to look at this as a successful season, and I don't think you're going to see desperation or creative type moves. So yeah, I'm going to be hard pressed to call this year a full success. There were great moments, and I enjoyed it as a fan, but I don't know if the organization should be resting on their laurels.
And they will, and that's what's so frustrating. Because I think there's a lot of fun stuff to talk about, and I'd actually like to do an episode where we decide to go live one evening and we just share like our favorite moments, our favorite stories, our favorite growth, our favorite prospect, and like look at some of the positives and do that in one episode.
Hell yeah.
I just can't be there today. That's just not where I am.
Yep.
But I would like to do something like that because there was a lot of exciting things that happened in Winnipeg this year that no one saw coming. The 1.6 moment will always live in infancy for me. But I do think we have to have these conversations about this team not getting stuck on this idea that, hey, we're on the right track. We're on the right track. Because at the end of the day, the difference in the roster does make a difference in this series. And Caitlin goes where I'm feeling. And this is where I get stuck in the middle here. I just can't help but shake the feeling that this is the best chance we're going to have to win the cup for a very long time. And that's where I fall.
Yeah.
And that's what's so frustrating to me is that I do feel that this was their last real shot at something big with this core, and they didn't put it all on the line.
And the
And that's
thing,
where it bothers me. But I also see Kishore's point here. I'm going to stick with being proud of the team tonight. There are problems ahead and items to criticize, but they give us many moments this playoffs that will last a very long time. And that's where I'm stuck right now because
yep,
I see both sides of these so very clear. I got to go to 8 playoff games, including coming down to Dallas. I'm never going to forget today,
right?
despite the ending. And I got to say, what a horrible feeling it is to sit up there and you see like 20,000 people
Oh,
explode in excitement,
God, I can't
and it's
imagine.
not you.
Yep,
But this team had me investing that kind of time and money to come down and do something like that to be a part of this run.
yep.
So like there's that side of it. But I don't think we could take the top of the org off the hook.
No, they should be held
Um,
accountable for it.
and
Winning
here's a
should
good
be,
perspective. Yeah, hold on.
yeah.
I'm having trouble because I'm getting that echo, so I can't tell when you start. So let me finish one point here.
Hit it.
Baby Billy, who joins in from the Stars side of things, and I think it's important. I think one thing that this market needs more of actually is hearing input on the Winnipeg Jets team from outside markets because I think this market puts this thing on a pedestal that's a little higher than what you would look at for a Stanley Cup roster. I mean, Justin pointed out on Twitch that we knew at the end of last year we needed a 2C and a top 4D, and we didn't get either. And we pretended like we were better
Yep.
equipped for a deep run. But Baby Billy says the Jets are really good, but in the playoffs, every team's scoring dries up. You need as many guys that can go get you a goal as possible, and I just don't see it from the Jets' bottom six. And that is 100% the full truth. And we talked about this going into the deadline that if you couldn't get a 2C because Brock Nelson was the only one, go replace Mason Appleton with a scorer. And today, that's the difference in the Winnipeg Jets going to game 6 or 7.
Yep.
And that's what we talked about in February and March. And that's where it pisses me off. As a fan that saw this coming, it was poetic it ended that way, but it never should have.
No, it never should have. It's unacceptable to say that there was only one option at the deadline and nothing else. To have no backup plan, no plan B. To say, we tried and that's good enough. It felt insulting, honestly, that we ended up in that spot where you couldn't have been bothered to come up with any. Scoring wingers are a dime a dozen at the deadline. A 4th-round pick goes out and gets you a big name to easily upgrade on your wing. We saw it all throughout the entire deadline. It's absolutely unacceptable that there was no other option out there except for Brandon Tanev, who was so excited that he was going to get to come back and get unearned minutes that he drove all the fucking way to get to the game early enough, and Luke Shen. So it's winning should be expected, right? We need to stop being just happy to be at the dance. We need to start actually holding them accountable for those things, and I just don't know. I don't know if we're at that spot yet with management, with ownership, with that level of it. I think we're still, as a city, in the happy to be here kind of spot, and it's frustrating because this was a year that everything went right. You had such an opportunity, and then you had the capital, you had the money, you had the prospects, you had the picks, and you just did
You were
nothing.
set up. And honestly, it goes back to last summer because you bridged Cole Perfetti instead of signing him long term.
Yep.
And then you did not use the cap savings to amplify this team. That is dire elective duty for a GM handling his cap and handling his young players.
All right, sorry about that, guys. Nick's getting hooked back up. They lost some internet down in Dallas. And people complain about the Wi-Fi in Winnipeg, apparently. Jeez.
Okay, so as I was saying, before I get cut out here at the old Hojo, and I think Trevor makes a fair counter when he says they tried that with Monahan and Toffoli last year. But there is such a wide gap between Monahan and Toffoli and Luke Shin and Brandon Tanev. Let's be honest here.
Yep.
There's a huge gap in those two approaches here. Last year, losing in the first round, I thought Chevy had his best 3-year run in a row. I think his last 12 months is his worst as a GM in Winnipeg, and that's what's frustrating.
Yep, 100% agree. What do you think about Harrison's point on Twitch? I do think the upcoming cap situation is going to force Chevy to change. Is that wishful thinking? Thanks for bearing with us while we work out some of the technical issues down in Dallas. This is our first international podcast, so that's pretty good. We're bringing this to you from Dallas via Winnipeg. We're bouncing off satellites. It's pretty good. So we'll see if we can get Nik back up here in 1 sec. All right, y'all. So I think we're going to be calling the show there for the night. Looks like the Wi-Fi down in Dallas has cut us right out. But I just want to say thank you to all of you. This has been an absolutely incredible season. We started off with an idea to do this for 82 games, and it seemed daunting as hell to start this off, but you've all made this so incredibly enjoyable. This community is one of the best, and I can't wait to keep doing this with you guys. So we're going to be back. We're going to be coming back after the exit interviews. We're going to be coming back with any off-season moves and camps. So we're not going to be going away. You're still going to be stuck with us. We're going to have tons more opportunities for call-ins and everything else. So, from both Nik and I, thank you all very much, and we'll see you soon. Good night, everybody.
This has been a Top Line Media production.